Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the Israel Brief, brought to you by Lay of the Land. I'm Raylene Marks, your host, bringing you the top stories from Israel and surrounds on this platform. But it looks like many of you are enjoying our YouTube channel as well, and we're really grateful for that. So while you are there, please click on the big red subscribe button, because it really helps us get Israel's side of the story out to the masses, and that is becoming increasingly more important as we see some of the coverage with regards to our country during this time. But let's take a look at those headlines. And last week we brought you the story about a non-governmental organization called Impact that monitors school textbooks around the world. Well, they released a study finding that UNRWA, the United Nations Relief Works Agency, who are responsible for a lot of the textbooks that Palestinian children receive, was full of incitement and anti-Semitic and anti-Zionist rhetoric, including supporting terror. Well, Australia are taking a stand. Australia have said that they will be opening a probe into UNRWA, into the organization, and into these textbooks, and said that they had a fundamental obligation to be unbiased and balanced. This is quite an indictment, and we remember that during the Trump administration, they controversially pulled funding from this organization because of incitement of hatred and accusing them of perpetuating a cycle of refugees and victimhood for the Palestinians. Very interesting. So we're going to be keeping our eyes peeled on Australia to see how this probe unfolds. In other news, and we do have some good news. I know we've been waiting ages for some good news with regards to the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, first we'll start with a little bit of the not so good news. The government will meet later today to discuss whether or not Israel should enter another 2 weeks of lockdown to bring down the high numbers of infections. And the Prime Minister appealed to the ultra-Orthodox community to please respect these guidelines. But the good news that we've all been waiting for, Israel as kind of being the world's lab with regards to the vaccine rollout. And in a study conducted by Sheba Medical Center, which is one of the best in the world, it has been discovered that at least 98% of health workers who had received both doses of the injections, in other words, they had already received the second dose, had developed very high antibodies that can prevent the spread of the virus. So we've been waiting ages for that news, and it's finally here. And I've been waiting for ages to find out whether or not I am age appropriate and eligible for my vaccine, but it has been announced earlier today that anybody from the age of 40 and above, and I'm not going to give away my age, but it is over 40, can receive their vaccines. So straight after this, I'll be headed to the telephone to phone my medical HMO, my medical aid company. And our final news is that, with all the controversy and all the debate around whether or not Israel is responsible for vaccinating Palestinians, and we discussed that in previous broadcasts, it has been confirmed that the Palestinians will start receiving Russian Sputnik vaccines with the aid of the World Health Organization. And just to reiterate that Israel is not responsible for vaccinating the Palestinians. This is as per the agreements, the Oslo agreements, that the Palestinians accepted and wanted full autonomy for their health care. And according to a Palestinian health ministry official just last month, who said, we do not require or need help from Israel. And also, if Israel did go ahead and vaccinate Palestinians, we would be in violation of their autonomy with regards to the healthcare system. So it is a case of kind of Israel is damned if we do or damned if we don't. But the important thing is both people are receiving their vaccines. And our final story, and we're just a day ahead of the inauguration of President-elect Joe Biden, who will take the role of President of the United States tomorrow. And of course, a lot of discussion, especially here in Israel. What will the Biden administration mean for the state of Israel? It's no great secret that the Trump administration was very, very positive for this country. But with this change of administration, what can we expect? Now, we know that our ambassador to the United States, Ron Dermer, who has served us very, very well, is returning home. He is at the end of his tenure in the United States, and we will announce who the new ambassador will be. But what can we expect? We've had an incredible record with Nikki Haley, followed by her successor at the United Nations, who fought flagrant bias against the Jewish state, and we're hoping that we will see a continuation of this. The other big issue, especially for Israel, is where will the Biden administration stand with regards to the Iranians? It's no great secret that Israel lobbied hard, and Prime Minister Netanyahu clashed with President Obama with regards to the Iranian deal. And this time, Israel does not want to be caught unawares. We have put together a task force to work with the Biden administration to ensure that Israel's case is heard loud and clear. And a senior official within the incoming administration has said that the administration will not speak to the Iranians without speaking to or including Israel. And the other big issue everybody wants to know is we've seen incredible movement in the region with regards to normalization. We have seen the historic Abraham Accords being signed, which paved the way for relations with Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates, the Sudan, and Morocco. Now, will this momentum continue? This is what everybody wants to know. And it would be a great pity, and it would really not reflect well on the Biden administration if they do not follow suit. But we have heard murmurings from within the incoming presidency that they will hope to continue this positive momentum. But the other question is, how do Gulf states feel about the incoming Biden presidency? Will they enjoy a relationship with President Biden like they have with President Trump? All eyes are on the Saudis. Well, our eyes definitely, because we want to know if they're going to normalize with us. But all eyes on the Saudis to see whether or not they maintain this positive momentum of a growing relationship with the United States. One thing is for sure, we are in for interesting times, and you can be sure that the Israel Brief will keep you up to date from a Monday to Thursday, as we always do. But that's enough headlines for now. If you're looking for content to read, look no further than our website at www.layoftheland.online. Thank you to all those out there who have made inquiries about how to become a writer for Lay of the Land. If you do, please pop us a message via our Facebook page. And while you're there, if you haven't given us a like or a follow, please do so. Share our content. We really appreciate it when you do. Follow us and interact with us on Twitter at layoftheland5. That's Lay of the Land with the digit 5. You've already clicked on that big red subscribe button on YouTube. We can see our community there is growing, and we really, really appreciate it and say thank you. So with the Tuesday edition of the Israel Brief, I'm Rolene Marks, off to make my appointment to get my historic first vaccine, and we'll speak again tomorrow.